Okay, guys, part three. So, my parents were not married. And my dad, as I had mentioned in part one and two, I think it was part two, he's from the South. His entire family originated from the South, from Virginia. And so my mother is not black. She's native, and in both senses. Not only is she native, but native of Arizona, like, and is still here, and they don't stray too far from where they are. That's for sure. Um, and so, like I said, my dad's family is all over the place, very large family. And so, in fact, I got a video of the reunion in the Drams. There was, the Dram, like I said, this whole thing, I just got off the phone with one of my cousins. I said, look, we're going to do a mutiny, okay? You in or what? So, nevertheless, it's going to be a straight up coup d'etat. So, but I'll go over that with you guys in a little bit. So being with her, I don't have these memories that the majority of people have. These memories of just, this beautiful mother, and no, I don't. My mother was a violent drunk. That's what she was. She was a violent drunk. And, you know, she was always in jail, always going to prison, always fighting, always doing something stupid, saying something stupid. And mind you, she is the oldest of her siblings. And at a certain point, I just thought to myself, I was like, just because you're the oldest don't make you wise. You know what I'm saying? And they act as if she's some sort of oracle. She's an idiot. I mean, I don't know if she's still alive. I don't know. And neither do I care. And so we'll get to that thing that took place where I said I'm out. I will not be taking care of this woman. See, the reason why it was the love of God inside of me, regardless as to how she treated me, how she allowed other people to treat me, the lies that she spoke of me, all of these wicked and evil things that she had done to me, right? And it was the love of God and God's mercy being extended that I would even want to take care of her in her elderly age, where you can't walk, you can't feed yourself, you can't go to the bathroom yourself, you can't bathe yourself. Those days are coming. And as I said, God is going to take care of his for sure. So I have no worries. I have no worries at all. And so, like I said, my family on my dad's side, some of them would get upset. Like, why would you want to take care of her? Because I didn't want her to experience being abused. Because, when God can't lie. Let me make this plain to you guys, what you don't understand. God cannot lie. All of his word will be fulfilled. And so one more time, when I reflect back on my own children, that they had the audacity to even be as disrespectful as they did back then, you think I'm delusional to turn around and think, oh, it's okay, I didn't know, because God can't lie. So that evil that's inside of my children, to have even crossed that line, oh, there's so much more evil inside of them today, because God cannot lie. And so I did not want her to experience being abused, and mistreated in a nursing home. That's why I said, if somebody ever called and said, hey, we're putting her in a nursing home. No, you're not. I'm coming to get her. And I'll take care of her, make sure she's safe, well taken care of until she clock out. But that door has been shut. And God is my witness, and he's witnessed it. You know what I'm saying? And so for her, let me make something clear also. There's this fallacy that Native American people they're just so loving and peaceful. No, they will straight up call you a nigger just as quick as any other bigot would. I can attest to that. Arizona is the only state that has the largest amount of Native American tribes. I don't know why that is, and I haven't bothered to even, do any research on it. But there's only one tribe that I can say, and I'm not saying it's the only one, I'm saying from my experience in dealing with as many tribes as I've dealt with, there's one tribe in Arizona that they will make you feel loved, make you feel welcomed. I have not experienced any bigotry from them. I'm not saying that they don't have it. I'm just saying at the top of the list, any person of color, anybody, it makes no difference what nationality, what color, what race, what culture, there's this one tribe that they are just a beautiful, beautiful people. And that one Native American tribe, let me tell you who it is. Now, one more time, I'm not saying that they don't have bigots, because bigots are everywhere. But the majority of them people are just a very kind, very friendly, just a beautiful people. A beautiful people. And that Native American tribe is the Navajo. When I was young, I had a Navajo teacher. And she loved me. She sure did. She loved me. And I remember her sister, I remember her brother. And it's so funny because they were all teachers. Well, actually, her brother was a construction worker. And I remember her daughters. And I remember their dog and their cat. And, they loved me. They sure did. I don't know. She passed away. And I'll share a story with you guys about that. That was an experience. I can't explain that. I don't know how to explain that. But she loved me. And, through the years, people could see that my mother did not love me, that she hated me. And so through the years, being as wacky and wonky and idiotic, and I would just think to myself, I would look at her siblings and look at her and I'd be like, are all of you guys just this stupid? Like, so what? She's your older sister. She's not an oracle. She's an idiot. Are you all idiots? And the answer would be yes. All of them are idiots. And the great God of heaven saw fit to, according to his perfect, holy, and righteous will, that he should put me to be born in the center of a whole family of nothing but liars, bigots, rude, nasty, disgusting human beings. And he said, that black one that you hate is mine. I choose her over all of you. Well, let me not say over all of you, because the door is still open, so I don't know, but knowing them the way I know them, they're so stupid, they're going to go straight to hell being stupid. They don't even know what's best for their own soul at all. So nevertheless, through the years, her friends could see that I was not loved. You know what I'm saying? And so some of her friends, I remember, sometimes she was friends with couples, friends with bachelors and single women. And, through the years of her idiocy, her friends would grab me and just hug me and just put kisses all over my face. And they would say these words: "I want you to remember that I love you." And so, this woman that I was named after, when I had went back to, native territory, this woman that I was named after, she seen me as an adult. I'm an adult now, right? And so she asked me, she said, how come I never see you? Where are you? How come I never see you? And I told her, I said, there's really no reason for me to come around here. I said, I'm here because I'm stuck, That's the only reason I'm here. But let me tell you, as soon as I can get up and go, I'm gone. And so nevertheless, she told me, she said, I understand. She said, if you felt loved and wanted, you'd come around more. And so, from time to time, people would come across me and they would tell me, like her, when she said that, she said, your mom's just jealous of you. That's all it is. She's jealous of you. They're all jealous of you. And I know that for a fact. I know that. The great God of heaven has opened my eyes to his perfect will. So yes, I do know that. But at that time, even though God was working in the background, I couldn't put a name to it, but his hand was sure enough involved. And so she said that, and other people would say the same thing. Now, I didn't tell my dad how they treated me. You know what I'm saying? And there is this psychological concept that is real. And in my longer video, when I was asking the question, who was Abraham, right? Because there is no people in the entire world that have been blessed from a people other than black people. Nobody. You can't say Chinese. You can't say Mexican. You can't say Portuguese. You can't say Greek. You can't. No. Because people ain't jumping up saying, oh, I want to be a rapper like that Chinese guy. Nobody says that. Nobody jumps up and says, oh, I want to be a Native American, singer like that Native American. Nobody says that. But you put a Michael Jackson, a Prince, a Temptations, a Smokey Robinson, a NWA, an Eazy-E. You put it don't matter who it is. Beyonce, Nicki Minaj. I don't care who it is. All the entire world always lean to black people. I don't care how much hate anybody wants to have. And you want to feel, superior to black people? Well, then why don't you walk in your own culture? What are you listening to black music for? Why don't you bump your own stuff and leave it at that? But they don't. I don't care when it comes to dress, style, humor. People want to be boys in the hood and they want to do all this, that, and all they do is just steal from black people, even when it comes to cooking. Even to build the physical definitions of black people. So that idea, this psychological thing is that people, when you go and you look at people, even the poorest of the poor, their whole psychology is, as long as I'm not black, right? See, so Native American people, in my situation, it was, they needed somebody to feel superior to, right? They need somebody to talk about. They need somebody to make the bad guy, even though they were disgusting, rude, vile, disgusting, wicked-hearted people, even to this day. but they need somebody to be the bad guy. They need somebody to blame, right? And so when you look, it makes no difference how poor a group of people can be. Their frame of reference is, as long as I'm not black, right? And that's what they do. And that's how it was coming up with my mother and her people, right? Mind you, I'm the one that was born of this assault, right? Why would you want to keep me around? You need to let me go with the assaulter, right? Oh, no, because they need somebody to feel superior to, right? And so, nevertheless, so through the years, people would come and tell me that exact same thing. You know, your mother's just jealous of you. That's all it is, you know? And so when I was coming up, you know, she neglected me. I was dirty. I didn't have any clean clothes, you know, sores on my body. My afro was just, you know, people couldn't tell if I was a girl or a boy. I was just this disgusting, dirty, little ugly black thing that they didn't want around. But they, keep in mind, they need somebody to blame. They need somebody to be the villain in their story, right? And so that's what it was. Now, I didn't tell my dad how I was treated, but I have a great suspicion that he knew. But one more time, she's not going to give me up, you know, because like I said, she didn't want anybody to love me. She hoped that I would never have love. She didn't want anybody to love me. She didn't want anybody around me. And that's all she did was just run around and lie. That's why I said, are all of you guys just a bunch of idiots? And yes, they are. Her siblings are idiots and their children are idiots and their children's children are idiots. And the great God of heaven is going to have them all stand and give an account for how they treated his elect. And so, nevertheless, you know, there was this one occasion when me and one of my sons, I was at the convenience store. And I had my window down and we're just about to leave. And my son said, hey, Mom, look, and this woman came running. Now, I don't, you know, me, I would have to have more consistent interaction with somebody in order to remember their face. You know what I mean? And so nevertheless, so she runs to my car. She was like, hey, Gail, right? And I was like, oh. And so my son reminded me who it was. And so, you know, she was like, I need to tell you some things. So she went and told me some things that were taking place that she felt that I should be aware of. So while she's talking to me, she says, I want to introduce my niece to you, right? So the niece comes over and she says, this is Gail. This is, you know, this is her daughter. And her niece said, you're her daughter? I didn't know she had a daughter, right? Exactly. Yeah, why wouldn't you know that she had a daughter, right? And that wasn't even the first person that's ever said that, right? So nevertheless, so the lady, she tells her niece, she was like, no. She was like, oh, first the niece goes, she was like, how can you be her daughter? She was like, but you're so pretty. And so I thanked her for the compliment. And then the lady, she said, she was like, this is the one. She was like, she's not like them. This is the one. This is the good one. She was like, she's not like them, you know. And she was talking about my mom and her family and her siblings and, you know, their children. She was like, no, she's not like them. She's different. She was like, this is the good one. And so nevertheless, so, you know, I thanked her for the compliments and stuff, but she wasn't the only one. Many people have said the exact same thing. You know, just randomly, I'll just run into people and they'll just be like, oh, you know, but so nevertheless, I didn't share with my dad, you know, what was going on. And it was just so interesting. There was just so much, you know, dysfunction and violence. I mean, that was the answer to everything, was violence. You know what I'm saying? And now, mind you, I'm just this little ugly black thing that's just there. Essentially, that's what I was, just there. Like, what am I doing here? For what? Because they want to feel superior to somebody, right? They need a villain of their narrative, right? And so, nevertheless, so here I am there for whatever reason, with this idiot who, you know, I can only say that it was the love of God, a God that I didn't know, that put it inside of me to want to make sure that she was safe in her elderly years. But after this event happened, then you guys will better understand that that door is closed, And so, so here I was, just this ugly duckling amongst, this wicked, evil, black-hearted, idiot family that, I was just neglected. Like I said, people couldn't tell if I was a boy or a girl. And so the majority of my time I spent with my cousins that were not related to her. Because mind you, I wasn't aware that my grandfather, who I knew, was not her father. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until later on. But here's the thing about their hypocrisy. The grandfather that I knew that was not her father, that essentially adopted her and gave her his name, his family didn't even like her because that wasn't his child. You know what I'm saying? And you got the audacity to hate your only child? You talk about a people with no empathy, no sympathy, And this was just kind of their routine, and it's still their routine to this day. I'm confident of that. And so I was always with his sisters because his sisters had children. So those would be, which were essentially supposed to be my mom's cousins, but they just kind of took me in because they could see that she was a nut. And so I was with them and, and their friends and stuff. And then in some situations, when the great God of heaven saw fit to take that little black ugly child, right? That little black ugly duckling and turn her into this, this swan, right? This biracial swan, man, let me tell you, everybody was trying to get at me. And so, well, let me not say everybody, a lot of dudes are trying to get at me. And so when the Lord saw fit to do that, relationships changed. And, some of my cousins, they're hating on me because you funny looking, you built funny, and you know what I'm saying? And some of my friends, and then some of my friends' mothers and their aunties, you know what I'm saying? So it was just, so you have to understand, you got this young girl. I didn't have anybody to teach me how to be a young lady. That was the mercy of God that gave me guidance, a God that I didn't even know existed. You know what I'm saying? Guidance, and kept me from a lot of situations. But you dealing with, like I said, they're a bunch of idiots. Like, did none of them have the sense to say, wait a minute, now she's transforming, we need to protect her even more? You know what I'm saying? Like, I kid you not. It was probably about, when I was 13 years old that it just clicked that she hated me intensely. And I can't remember what the catalyst was for that realization. But I do remember I left, and I went to go stay with one of my cousins. Now, here's the thing. How many of you are just going to let your child just leave and you don't know where they're at? Let alone call and find out, hey, where are you at? Is she over there? Is she all right? Nothing. You mean you're just going to let your 13-year-old child just leave and just be gone? And so one day I had called back to my grandfather's house. My grandmother was still alive at this time, and she was dying. And so I called back. I can't remember what I was calling for, but my grandmother answered, and I had been gone. Y'all, I probably was gone, I don't know, like 2 months or something. Not one word, nothing. Nothing. Didn't come to my cousin's house, didn't knock on the door. Hey, is Gail here? How is she doing? Is everything all right? Is it okay if she be here? If she's, you know what I'm saying? Something. Nothing. And so I didn't have that experience of anybody being concerned about me. You know what I mean? And so, which I guess it became an unhealthy fixation for me with my own children. Like, where are you guys at? Who are you with? You know what I'm saying? Who? What parents? I need to meet them first. I need to know where they live. I need to take a look in their house. And that's how I was with my children, because I didn't have that. Didn't nobody care about me. I could be gone for a year and nobody would care. In fact, I was gone for several years, and nobody cared. You know what I mean? And so when I called to my grandfather's house when I was gone at 13, my grandmother answered the phone and she says, "Where are you?" And I said, "Grandma," I said, "I'm not coming back. My mom doesn't love me. She hates me. There's no reason for me to be there." She was like, "Grandpa's been asking about you. He's worried about you." I would say there was some relationships that had it was kind of like a smoke and mirrors type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it could change at any moment, with her and them. And so when my grandmother had told me that, my heart wanted to believe that, because I loved my grandfather. I did. And I don't think that coming from where he came from and I don't think he could grasp what I was going through. He didn't know how to, you know what I mean? And so, but I did. Even though he didn't favor me the way he, it was very obvious. You know what I'm saying? They could do no wrong. But oh man, if I step wrong, if I sleep wrong, if I speak wrong, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, that's that thing of, people wanting to feel superior over somebody, right? They're better than somebody when they're nothing. Nevertheless, so my grandmother, she and that old lady tried every trick in the book to try to get me back. And I'm thinking today, when I know as much as I know today, I would say she's trying to use every trick in the book, because they didn't want no police activity or, for her to get in trouble, my mom to get in trouble, because I'm gone. I'm 13 years old. Like, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? But she tried every trick in the book. Like, where you at? Grandpa's asking about you. He's worried about you. Oh, he's worried about me, but she's not worried about me. Okay. Then she tried to use one of my younger cousins. She's been asking about you. Oh, stop it. Old lady, I'm not returning. I'm not coming back. You will not ever see me again. Then I think I was probably back like the next month. Something like that. And so it was just one more time, I'm the result of an assault, but she don't want to give me to the assaulter. You know what I'm saying? And if there were, I can't undo anything, because now that I understand the truth of how God works and the wonderful things that he does, I wouldn't change a thing. I would not change a thing. You know, is there some sadness? Of course there's going to be some sadness. If you don't feel no sadness, how are you going to know what joy is? If everything, you know what I'm saying? If everything just on the up and up, how are you going to actually empathize with another human being? Which they can't. When the Lord talks about a severed conscience, you're talking about an entire family. And God picked one. The one they hate is the one he picked. That's terrifying. On that day, they're going to see me ascend up into the arms of the Holy God, while the bottomless pit opens up. There you go. Reminded for eternity who you hated, how you mistreated, how you lied, were so wicked and evil, besides rejecting the one true God. And that gonna play in your mind over and over, and it won't stop. It will not stop. Thirst will not stop. Hunger will not stop. Heat, the burning flames, burning them all up. Burning, but never burning them where they're extinguished. You know what I'm saying? That's horrible. All the memories, all the feelings for eternity. And so, when the Lord saw fit to make me this swan, you know what I'm saying? You would think that she would have the sense to protect me. So I went out, got pregnant by an idiot, and so, hold on, I'm jumping ahead. Let me get to this one situation where I was telling you guys about how when God turned me into the swan, these relationships, some of them were severed. They just weren't the same. And so the aunt that I had mentioned to you guys that was an influence, this light is going to go off pretty soon. Let me see, what time is it going to go off? So that aunt that I mentioned that was an influence to me in reading, because she was always reading those stupid romance books, corny romance books. And now that I know more today than what I knew yesterday, now I see why she was always reading that trash. But nevertheless, so I would go, she'd be reading her corny romance books. I would get my little books, go lay on her floor, because she had a cool room. She had a bunch of posters all over the place, and a bunch of music, and she'd be there reading her books, and she was just a quiet nerd. And nevertheless, so that aunt, I was probably about 14 at this time. She had this boyfriend, right? And so, mind you, ugly duckling to the swan. And so this is my aunt, right? So nevertheless, her boyfriend came to the house. I can't remember why he came. Because she was in jail. Oh, why was this nerdy aunt in jail? Well, this nerdy aunt, mind you, they can do no wrong. They're so superior, right? Well, this nerdy aunt, man, she wasn't having a good time unless she was drinking and driving. Oh, yeah. Oh, don't give her the keys just yet. Wait until she's stumbling and sees 4 of everything, then give her the key. Wait until everything is spinning, then give her the keys. That's how she enjoys herself. And so she was always getting caught drinking and driving. And guess what? She never had to pay for none of it. My grandparents paid for all of that mess that she would do. But one more time, they're so superior, right? So her boyfriend comes. He's selling this car, y'all. Let me tell you. I had it in my heart. I got to convince my grandfather to get this car for me. Man, it was a nice Camaro. It was a IROC Z28. I had to have that car, man. That car was cold, and it was a 5-speed. I had to have that car. So my grandfather didn't believe that I knew how to drive stick, right? So he was like, let me see then. So I go and tell you. And so, of course, the boyfriend's got to be with me. You think you're going to give the keys to a 13, 14, 14-year-old kid? And man, he will never see that car again. So nevertheless, so I go and test drive the car. And while I'm gone, she calls from the jail. And I think it was my mom or my aunt that answered. And so when I get back, there's talk at the table. Oh, she's upset. Now she's accusing me of her boyfriend, right? This is my aunt. Mind you, I'm 14. And so look how the great God of heaven works. So nevertheless, so that hurt me. You know what I'm saying? That relationship was never, ever the same. And so fast forward, I move in with the boyfriend in another town, and we come down to what was called a park and swap, basically a swap meet. So I'm 18 years old at this time, right? And while I'm there at the park and swap, I decide to give one of my uncles a call because, hey, I'm near y'all. I'm here at the park and swap, right? So we're chatting it up, and as I'm talking with my uncle on the phone, look how God works out this stuff. What are the chances, right? So, mind you, I was living in another town. I'm 18 years old now. All these years have gone by. I'm talking on the phone with my uncle, and guess who walks in front of me, right? He doesn't recognize me, right? And I don't know, maybe that was the last time I seen him when I test drove that Camaro. But nevertheless, I recognized him. So I tell my uncle, I said, guess who's here? And he said, who? I said, him. And he was like, with her? No. Guess who he's with? Who? I don't know. I guess it's his girlfriend, or she's pregnant and he's carrying a baby, and it's not my aunt. You know what I'm saying? And so my boyfriend at the time, his family and his, they were with me. And so I tell them, I was like, hold on, I'm going to go over there and say hi and ask where my aunt is, So he was surprised. I was like, hey, where's my aunt? And the lady is looking at me like, who is this, right? Well, nevertheless, time goes by, and I call back to my grandfather's house, right? And she happens to answer the phone. My aunt. She says, hey, I just wanted to ask you about, you seen him over at the park and swap, and, and I said, well, what do you want to know? The lady was pregnant. He was carrying a baby. He was there with somebody else. That's what I know. And my boyfriend's family was with me, and they saw it. They were witnesses. So what is it that you want to talk about? Well, he said that that's not true, that he wasn't there. So then what are you talking to me for? If you say it's not true, then let it be not true. What do you need from me? You know what I'm saying? Just to waste my time. It's your story. You tell it. If you want it to be a lie, then let it be a lie. But you don't need to talk to me about it, because I saw what I saw. And let me tell you how the great God of heaven worked things out to slap her in the face with that situation, because come to find out, it was true. And she found out it was true, that I wasn't lying. Guess what, Auntie? You were the side chick. I don't know if the boyfriend went on to marry that other woman, but I know this much. He didn't ever see my aunt again, and neither did he come to see my little cousin. He was done with them. Oh, but do you think she turned around and apologized to me? No. And this is the type of stuff that I had to deal with my mother's family. You know what I'm saying? And one more time, I didn't ever tell my dad that, how they treated me or anything like that. And so, you know, if you didn't mistreat anybody, right? Why would you get nervous around them? What are you scared for? Just think about that. If you've never mistreated anyone, were evil to them, disrespectful to them, why would you get nervous when they come around? What are you getting scared for? You scared that they're about to push you into the grave for the wicked things that you've done to them. That's why you're nervous, and that's why you're scared. And that's how they all get when I come around. Well, why would you feel that way? Vengeance is the Lord's, and he will repay. He will repay in this life, and he will repay in the life to come. And so, nevertheless, that was the type of stuff that I had to deal with my mom, and all of these dysfunctions, and not having anyone to show me, how to, become a young woman, and many of their dysfunctions, like I said, just violence, and, just all this hypocrite and lying, and that's just how they are, just a brood of snakes, to the point that they sit there. Would you go to somebody's funeral that you don't like? And that's them. They do it all the time. Sit there and talk about somebody, then the person die. Clearly you don't like the person, so what are you going to the funeral for? You don't have that much integrity? You still can't even do that? Like, you far gone at that point in time. I don't attend people's funerals who I do not like and I don't respect. I can't get down like that, but let me tell you, that's their thing. Let alone Thanksgiving, let alone any other holiday. It's not like I do holidays, but what I'm saying is that's their routine. You telling me you that far gone that you're going to give a gift to somebody you don't like, that you're always talking about. You're going to attend a wedding for somebody you don't like. Anyway, so that's how I was treated. You know what I'm saying? And, to be with my dad, there was just peace. When I was with my dad, when I would spend time with my dad, there was peace. It was just peace. And in some instances, I didn't know how to rationalize that peace. You know what I'm saying? Because coming from where I came from with her and all of her nutty family, all this dysfunction, you know what I'm saying? It was just chaos. And so when I was in environments that were peaceful, I didn't know how to interpret that. And I destroyed, relationships and, and so today I can say that, but to go through it today, being more wise and more knowledgeable to the truth of the Holy God, but in addition to having that academic knowledge, and it was through academia that the puzzles started the missing puzzles started to make sense. And so I just, to be with my dad's family, it's just peace. I mean, even though I'm telling you guys about this family reunion drama, it's not drama like that. It's just like, what? What is going on? Like I said, Me and my cousins, we gonna mutiny this family reunion. We gonna have to do a coup d'etat. You in? Okay. So nevertheless, I hope this is kind of coming together, me, because this last part is, you know, I need strength. I need to talk to my God. I need to talk to my God. But anyway, so y'all check out my short because I got a testimony, another testimony, more praise for the Holy God. Thank you guys for listening.